Bitcoin lost almost a third of its value Friday, capping off a tumultuous week for the cryptocurrency. Coinbase, one of the world's largest cryptocurrency exchanges, disabled all trading during the day's plunge. The move follows a recent spike in transactions, causing delays in processing transfers and verifying new customers. So is Bitcoin the way of the future, or is it entering a bubble? Jason Rotman is a managing partner for Lido Isle Advisors. Jason, thanks for joining us. Bitcoin has seen some big swings in the past, but what is behind this most recent volatility?
You know, I can identify several key black and white factors that have all caused, I would say, this basically the biggest Bitcoin sell-off all year, which is really 2 days before Christmas. Number one, Charlie Lee, okay, the creator of kind of the mini Bitcoin, which is called Litecoin, he sold every Litecoin that he owns, and probably that was hundreds of millions of dollars. So that's kind of like, you know, insider selling in a sense. Why is this top guy selling everything? Does he know something that we don't? Does he think prices are too high? He even said, get ready for a bear market. So that's just one out of numerous things. The other thing is that Coinbase launched Bitcoin Cash, but the hours and days before that launch, Bitcoin Cash went up like 50%, and they're being looked at for insider trading too, sharing information before they should have. So ultimately right now, my point is this. It's really still a confidence game. It's not a con game, but it's a confidence game. And whenever there's a crisis of confidence, people rush for the exits like crazy, and that's what we're seeing.
Now,
short term.
Let's talk about long term then, because we know that the Commodity Futures Trading Commission agreed to allow trading in Bitcoin futures at the beginning of this month. Goldman Sachs says it's working to have a trading desk up and running by June. Do you expect other banks to follow suit, or is Wall Street in a holding pattern after this recent sell-off?
No, I don't think this. Yeah, that's a good question. I do not believe at all that this sell-off is going to affect anybody's future plans in a meaningful way whatsoever. Even though this is the largest sell-off all year, it's probably only beating the next one by a few percentage points. At the end of the day, there's been so many instances of fear and concern about Bitcoin's future. Bitcoin goes down 30%, and then a month later, it's right back up. Because I think this is a movement. I think this movement is not just about Bitcoin. It's about the underlying technology of peer-to-peer, of blockchain, of a public ledger, of non-sovereign business models, in a sense, that are not really controlled by governments or central banks. So I think the future is going to be a long, healthy, expansive one for this whole industry, not just Bitcoin.
Wow. So then are you saying this is a buyer's opportunity?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's over 1,000 cryptocurrencies and tokens and decentralized applications out there.
Yeah.
I think if anybody's looking to get involved, I would say stick to the top 20, the top 30. That's where the multi-billion-dollar market caps are. But I would say this is absolutely a buying opportunity if you have a multi-year time frame. Absolutely.
All right. Well, listen, the original appeal of cryptocurrency seemed to stem from its immunity from government manipulation, right? But with this kind of activity that we've seen in recent months, don't you think that regulators will eventually step in?
Well, you know, the thing is, they already have. I mean, you know, we can't just look at a United States perspective. Japan has regulated it, but Japan has legally declared that Bitcoin is legal tender. So that's a positive regulation. From an, you know, the only, if I ask myself, well, what would be a constraining regulation? What would be a negative, regulation? And that would be basically the government trying to control exchanging these cryptocurrencies for example, U.S. dollars, right, or other type. You know, we haven't really seen that. I don't think that will happen. That would just be too big of a suppression. It's like prohibition. Like, you can ban alcohol during the Roaring '20s, but guess what? People are going to do it. It's going to get more expensive. So you got to somehow legalize it and make it work and kind of hop on the train, because the governments can't stop it. They've tried before and they can't. So for people involved in the space, mom and pop, even big banks out there, you just have to embrace the volatility. But some of the brightest investment minds that I'm aware of are behind Bitcoin.
But don't you have to have
capitalists, Tim Draper, et cetera.
This is true, but don't you have to have a pretty big appetite for risk right now? I mean, without regulation, there are still dangers in investing in cryptocurrencies.
There are numerous dangers. Number one, you could lose everything. So I would say, if somebody has 100 grand or 100 million, right, any number, and they say, hey, Jason, I want to get involved in Bitcoin. How much should I invest? The common number that was circulating around investment circles earlier this year was 1% of your portfolio.
Right.
So think about that. How many investors are putting in more than 1% of their portfolio?
Yeah.
I would say it's a pretty good amount, which was, caused the huge rally this year. So I think if you stick to the basics of portfolio diversification, you should be okay.
All right, but be prepared to lose it all, right, Jason?
I don't think it's going to happen, but you got to be prepared.
Be prepared. All right, Jason Rotman, thank you so much for that.